tasting a bit of blood, to clarify, for scientific reasons.
But hmm, maybe we should take one of those unsold as well and just cut them open and see what their blood does.
Maybe not.
By the way, just before we proceed, I'm sure that was Nicola who was actually controlling my character because nobody else other than a spellcaster would let a fighter go down as easy as I went. So
Oh, but
that,
you didn't lose any hit points.
Yeah, it was
It was a one.
instant poison.
Yeah, it was instant
I
poison that just knocked you
okay.
out.
I play the fighter, so I resent that statement, and the
Alright.
paladin afterwards.
True, true. Alright, so sorry about that. You know, internet can do this sometimes to us, so I'm glad I'm back. And I believe that we were in the process of gathering up again in the uppermost hallway in which the portal exists. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Alright.
Yes.
Alright.
Tanya and I are back as well. Probably at the same time. We did go through the other side of the house, like
Okay.
did just walking and talking. Would anything seem out of the ordinary?
Um, did you make an effort to look specifically?
Mm, no, at least Barnack didn't. Like he didn't open every door and everything. He just looked at the doors that were open and like,
Okay.
okay, there's a
Well,
bed.
you did find one more room in which one of the poor unsold what was left behind, and that room itself
Mm-hmm.
was much less webbed than this entire the left wing of the building was much less webbed up than the right one was, where the matriarch had made
Mm-hmm.
her nest. So you find one more unsold, and it's actually striking. It seems to be almost like it's weird to say about someone who isn't quite there, and but even just looking at them, this is a very striking individual, very just good looking, no other way to say it. And
Okay.
even though they look a little underfed, you also notice that like they have these brown robes on, but they have like pulled up the sleeve on the right arm, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
scratching like in the arm, in the elbow.
Okay.
Do you do you want to investigate?
I would like to investigate, and I would also, can I just like take their arm and like like take it away from the scratching? Like, stop, you person, you good-looking
They
person,
kind of just
stop that.
continue doing it. Like you move the arm away, and they just stretch a little bit to continue scratching at it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's a very mechanical motion. It's not like they're full on opening the skin. It's just there is something there that's causing an itch, and just out of pure instinct, like bodily instinct, they're scratching
Okay.
at that location. But
Okay.
I will say, in the process of like pulling the arm away a little bit, um, you feel no resistance, but you do spot that there are several what seems to be small marks on the arm, like little wounds that have been inflicted. Some older and some newer.
Arnek, do you think they're scratching at spider bites? But also, don't you think it's well? Why did the spiders not slurp these guys up? Is it because they're empty? Do you think? Ew! Did I just say slurp?
Yeah, you did. That was the weirdest part of all of that question. Um, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the spiders think. Although what I do see is, do they look like spider bites?
No, they look like singular round marks, each
Okay.
individual and not spaced out like two
It
at a time or whatever.
it doesn't look like spider bites though, Tony. It looks smaller than a bite. It looks like someone. It looks like a wound that was made by something very very small. Um. Oh, let's. Darn it! I'm not a physician. I'm not a doctor, but I can try to see what well, if there's any poison in their veins or whatever. Can I make a small incision?
Sure. While they're scratching at it, or do you want to do
No,
something about that?
no. Before, like, just pulling away their arm again and saying, Tani, can you hold this arm for a moment?
Yeah. And yeah, I grab onto it.
Just
so-
just for a moment.
Holding a soulless body down so you can cut into it.
A harmless mental patient is currently being assaulted by a
No.
dwarf and a half-orc.
No, they're not. They are not. We're trying to help.
Okay,
Helpless mental patient.
Okay. So Tani, it's easy enough. Like, you still feel the impulse that they want to pull closer, but you don't have to exert any energy. Like, the moment that it can't, the arm just kind of like, it pushes gently like against your own strength, and that's it. Barnack, you manage to like stretch out the arm, and they kind of start fiddling a little bit, but that's about it. And so you want to make an incision to what end exactly?
To see if there's like, well, to draw some blood and to see if there's any poison in it. If I can
Okay.
inspect the blood as well, without making an incision at like the vein or something.
Yes. So
Like,
make a medicine check, please.
Darn it, I don't have
Could
my
Core
dice.
be with them?
I actually had Core probably observing Elena, because of course in case she needs
Right,
help.
right.
Okay, medicine check, you say.
Yes,
I
please.
will make a medicine check.
don't
I
roll
don't
a
have
one.
my dice, so don't
Yeah,
roll a
just tell
one.
me what it rolls.
That's perfect when you say don't roll a one.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
Okay, 20 in total. 18.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do indeed manage to like exactly pinpoint the arteries and the veins, and you kind of, push a little bit. You make sure you kind of get one of those little wounds. You count maybe 6 or 7 in total that are visible, and then scars of maybe 3 or 4 more locations. And you kind of get to one that seems to have been maybe, like, all of the other ones are on the arteries, but this one is kind of beside it. So you pick that one and you cut away a little bit of blood pops out. You feel this involuntary jolt as they try to pull the armor back a little bit, but it's nothing significant. And as the blood starts to run down, you check it, you smell it. It seems perfectly normal blood, and you don't detect any trace of poison. Or do you
Okay.
also want to lick the blood like Jean-Jacques did?
Well, I don't know. With Barnack. Oh, I mean, probably yes. I like tracking animals, so
Sure.
it would be something
connects.
that I would try even in the wild. So, sure.
Okay. Make another medicine check.
As he's studying it and I'm holding his arm, you don't think these spiders are like drinking their blood like this? They're not vampire spiders, are they? They have several mandibles. Okay. I think to myself,
I'm
but
like this.
also
I'm
thinking
like
out loud.
I think so. It's the spider.
Nice. Okay.
Nice, 21 now.
Damn. Okay. I will say with that medicine check, you immediately become aware of the fact that as you taste it, you gain 7 temporary hit points. You feel pretty good, and it tastes like you can taste the iron, but it's not as like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever even been close to tasting maybe your own blood because you bit somewhere or whatever, but it's not good, right? But this does not have that revulsion that it kind of normally summons in you. In addition to that, I will say, as you taste the blood, you feel that effect, you look at the person, you suspect that though at first you thought human, this must be an ASMR.
Okay. Okay.
And you remember from the early days of the God's Fall, or at least reports, that were shared over time, is that ASMR were disproportionately affected by the condition that the Unsouled have. Almost all of them, like to the last one, all became unsouled and lost. Of course, presumably, people speculated that it had this to do with this connection to the gods, and that it was weakened or severed in many cases.
Connie, I don't think this is from the spiders at all. These little wounds don't. An animal couldn't have made them. A monster couldn't have made them. Well, unless a monster was a human. So, I think we should tell this to Jean-Jacques and Tarnok and Kor. Maybe they'll know what to do with this. Although I feel really great. If you want a bit of this blood, just so you know, it does. Well, I feel stronger.
Really? But then, isn't it blood? Isn't blood nasty? And as I say this, I am gonna touch a bit of the wound.
Oh no.
You know what? This is how the myths about D&D players start.
You gain 10 temporary hit points, Tani. You feel pretty fucking good.
Oh no, the two of them are just gonna hunt ASMR from now on.
No, they're just gonna drag one around and feed on it like
Yeah.
vampires.
Yeah. So, Tani, let's go share this with others. Maybe I don't remember if anyone got hurt. This might help them. And yeah, let's go. I'll look back one more time, longingly for that blood, but I'm like, not now.
Okay, Vampire Barnack.
Yeah, no, and we'll come back probably.
Alright. So yeah,
Barnack.
you start to head back. You find Jean-Jacques and Turnok having already rejoined Kor, and you notice now that the portal has indeed shrunk, and she's currently in the process of what seems to be a very long version of that dispel magic that she was working with you earlier, Jean-Jacques. And she's kind of walking around repeating herself, the same phrase kind of echoing through the hallway. You don't know what the words are, but it's just kind of like almost like a very distant choir, just constantly repeats itself. And you see the portal slowly shrinking in front of her. And then maybe a minute later or so, Tani and Barnack come wandering back in. But before you do, I would like you both to make a Constitution saving throw.
Fun. Okay.
Us?
Yes.
Yes,
Barnack
of course,
and
you.
Oh, wait.
Actually, Jean-Jacques, I would like you to make one as well now.
Okay.
Apologies.
Why did it roll at disadvantage?
24.
24, okay.
12.
12, okay. And Tani?
20.
20.
20. Uh-huh.
Okay. So, after a little while, varying lengths of time, each of you feels that effect of, being bolstered disappear, but it drains you more than you realize, and you feel this brief wave of fatigue wash over you, and you just want to lie down and go to sleep. And for Tani and Jean-Jacques, that lasts for maybe a minute or so. You kind of have to, breathe and calm yourself, and then you're okay. Barnack, you gain 1 point of exhaustion as you just feel overwhelmed by losing this feeling that you had only moments ago.
We are already regathered, right?
Sorry?
We are already gathered. We're in the
Yeah,
same
at this
place.
point, I imagine this probably happens in the hallway right before they come in, and they kind of spend another minute just waiting and gathering themselves. And Barnack doesn't quite manage, whereas Tani does, and then you can enter and rejoin the party. At which point the portal is about to shrink into nothingness. She's just pushing the last bits into each other almost.
Yeah.
My point here
Could I
is
have-
just. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Could I have approached it sufficiently to get back that hallucination without interfering with her ritual?
You can definitely attempt to. How close would you get? I would say that the closest you've gotten so far, when you actually had it previously, was within maybe a meter of the portal. So do you want to get that close again, and you kind of be in her way at that stage, but that is
I want to avoid being in her way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'd get that close without being in her way if I can. If not, I'll just.
We'll say it can be a dexterity check just to kind of see if you can make yourself
Yeah.
not
I'll leave it
available
alone.
enough.
I'll leave it alone.
Okay.
I'll leave it alone. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can move closer, but you don't. You feel like a little bit of a pull, but maybe that's just in your head. Maybe you're just curious
Yeah.
about what's behind the portal.
Either way, I'll get that close,
Mhm.
and then just on on a whim, I'll use one sorcery point and cast subtle spell message
Mm-hmm.
towards it,
Okay.
thinking of Edeah.
Okay.
And I'll just say, Madame Edeah, are you there? Are we in danger? And that's it.
Okay. There's a pause, and you don't think that you'll be getting a response. So you look over your shoulder, you see Tani and Barnak having reappeared, and right in that moment, you hear the response in your mind, but it's distant. It's not the way the spell is supposed to work. Presumably because of whatever dimensional magics are at work here. But you do hear her saying, maybe shouting even, as if she was standing at the end of a very large, empty hall. And you hear her shouting, "It isn't time yet. Do not come back." And that's it.
Cool.
Okay. So the portal closes, and a very tired-looking Barnak and Tani rejoin, and you guys can kind of regroup a little bit. Is there anything you guys want to do specifically here at the asylum?
Destroy the eggs.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
I think that's one of the things that we must do.
Okay.
Is destroy the eggs.
All right. Okay, so you can do that easily enough. So you head downstairs, and it's essentially what you find out to be the kitchen area, with some storage closets around it, and underneath the kitchen table on which probably food was cooked once upon a time, but you find these thick, twitching sacks filled with little spiderlings.
Pew 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 pew.
Oh, I'll love this. I'll love this.
Firebolt. Pew pew
All
pew
right,
pew
so
pew.
you spend
Uncharacteristically unraged turn off. Like smashing eggs.
Okay. All right. So between the two of you, you managed to carve through and destroy most of the eggs, leaving just this wreckage of a table and smoldering remains of dead spiders. You saw a few start to skitter out, but just between all of you, you stomped them out and made sure that none escaped as far as you could tell. But even so, as you head back into the hallway to rejoin Elena, who's now headed into the main entry, or in the main hall, where you first came in, she looks around, and as you do as well, you notice, there are everywhere. There are little skittering spiders, some larger, some smaller. There's already been several egg sacs that have hatched and that have left behind their brood. And in fact, you assume that the only reason that the other larger spiders aren't attacking now is because you defeated the matriarch, and they're probably at least afraid of engaging with you again for the time being. But Elena looks around. She says, "Right. It's time for us to go. Have you got everything?"
Well, not necessarily. What will be the fate of the unsold that remain within their rooms?
That'll be in the hands of the Unusual Services Division. I expect they'll be waiting outside already.
About that. There's an unsold in the other part of the house, manor, asylum, and he is currently leaking a bit of blood, and the blood has healing properties.
And how did you find that out?
Well, I tasted it.
I look at Jean-Jacques, and then I look at Barnek, and I just, what in Nosgorov's name are you all thinking? Why? You know what? You know
Wait,
what?
Tarnok,
Leave
wait. That's
this.
Tarnok. That's a normal thing to do when you're
Oh, is it? Is
tracking an
it?
animal, for example.
Oh,
You
well, no,
take
so
the
is an
blood.
animal now. Am
Well,
I
it's
an
not.
animal to you as well? I carve on my hand, like I cut my hand with my rapier, and I say, "See, taste it, track me down. I'm going to run away from here, and you track me down." What are you thinking? What are you doing?
Elena clears her throat. Are you finished?
Well, I'm done with this place long ago. I just
She gestures for the door. She says, "Shall we?"
Before we do, Madam Sordner, is there nothing that we can do for the poor souls?
What is
I
it that you
trust
wish
that-
to do? I did not take you for medical personnel or otherwise caretakers of the needy. Do you want to take
Well-
them with you? You are free to do so, but it will slow you down, and I will need to speak to you extensively tonight.
No, of course not. I just mean that if we do not interface with the Unusual Services Department at all on the topic of what happened here, I am afraid that these people will be a part of whatever further actions regarding the quarantine happen.
What makes you assume that? My aide, Benjamin, will tell them everything that they need to know, and they will take appropriate actions. She
That
seems
is-
genuinely perplexed at the level of paranoia being displayed. As someone of the establishment, she just, for her, this is natural. Why would you be so suspicious of people
Yeah.
murdering others immediately?
Well, the reason why I ask is that I would imagine it wasn't your doing, whatever happened here. It's not a spell that you cast, that you didn't cause this.
I have theories that I might have been indirectly responsible, but
Okay.
I will need time to assess and properly deduce what happened. It seems that my magic became, when I anchored it, became unstable, and near the unsouled, it had this effect.
I see. Well, all right. Well, if you already have a working hypothesis and your aide will speak to the Unusual Services Department, my concerns are somewhat assuaged. I merely worry that they would find correlation between the unsouled waking up and interplanar spiders appearing, and that they might consider that this was reason enough to include them in the process of extermination.
I suspect that there is a correlation, but I do not think that will escape the division, but I also do not think that will cause these unsouled their demise. Now, you might argue that if they are taken into custody and researched at another facility, that would be inhumane, but I'm afraid I have larger concerns to look after tonight and in the coming weeks. If that is something you wish to deal with, you'll need to speak to the Commissioner of the Unusual Services Division, but I can tell you it is a difficult conversation to initiate and more difficult to have. So you must be well prepared if you choose to go down that route. And she kind of looks at you, but also at Turnock for a moment. Impressing, there is a route you can take if you have any concerns, but what happens may not be pretty, but it is also difficult to get involved in this, and you'd be taking on quite a large undertaking if you choose to.
Very well. Let us get out of here.
Excellent. She opens the door, steps through first. Once you get outside, you hear a squeaky voice from a patch of snow that's like lying on a brush outside the door, and appearing is your good friend Remy. Out of out of nowhere, he was hiding the whole time as you were inside. Because, well, are we all good? Did you get it done? Who's that? Oh, right. You went in for her, right?
Yeah. Great help as always, Remy.
I was the lookout. No one came by to cause you any more trouble. And no big spiders got out. Although I saw a leg.
Yeah, thank you for that. Really helped out a lot.
Well, what did you expect me to do? Just go in and, fall over and need rescuing? That's not the point of our agreement. I'm supposed to stay safe, remember? This was me staying safe.
I'd relax. Just pulling your leg. It's fine.
But it's not
Did
really
good.
nice. I have really short legs and I need them to walk on.
That's why I'm pulling, making longer. I just walk off after Lady Sword and Bread.
Okay. Yeah, she is already headed for the gate. And as the rest of you follow, you see emerging from the building down the street where that candle was burning. In the window, you see another short figure at the head of what seems to be two taller ones. And the taller ones, as they come into the firelight of the torches that have been set out around the tent on the street, you see that there's a gnome, like a female gnome at their head. She seems to be wearing some very formal black with red lining clothes, like kind of like a sort of suit almost. And the other two are just in pure black robes with a single red, like very dark crimson lining as well, with hoods over their heads. And they have a brief conversation with Lady Swordandbrand before they turn back and actually start heading towards the asylum, passing by all of you.
As they do, just a
Yes.
second, Kevin. As they do, I just get really close to Jean Jacques and I just whisper, basically, motives, Jean Jacques. And again, would you have solved this issue this way? And they step away.
Okay.
That's all.
Interesting. In the meantime, Lady Sword or Arcanist Swordandbrand is currently talking to the Black Hats that were also stationed outside, and you see them quickly rushing after the Unusual Services Division personnel that has already preceded them. And after that, she speaks briefly with Benjamin, as she called him, her aide, and they have a quick conversation. After which Benjamin comes over, hands you the chest with the gold in it, and so you gain roughly, I think what did it say, 1,600 guilders in platinum. 1,600, yes, that was it. I think.
Nice. Haversacker.
Yeah. I'm editing it already.
Nice.
So that's 150, 160. How
160.
many? How much? 160. So
Platinum.
that is
Right, platinum, because you looked through it as well last time, and you wanted to see what the coinage was.
That's right.
Yeah.
As they do, you see Turnock you briefly taking notes. Like, just briefly,
Mm-hmm.
you just notice that he does it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. After that's done, she has another brief exchange with Benjamin, and he then rushes down the street and goes to take care of whatever errands that he might have to take care of. And then she rejoins you guys. And you're standing in the street. It's starting to snow again. There's still a thin layer that fell during the evening before, and now it's starting to snow again. And you can feel, with the chill rising in the air and more snow falling, that this is going to be a very cold night. She looks at all of you and she says, "All right, well, I suppose it is time for introductions, and at the same time, I would like to invite you to join me for the evening at let me get this right, at the latrine." And for those of you not in the know about politics, that's an odd name, right, for a place. But I will say probably Jean-Jacques and Turnock are probably aware. At least Turnock, for you remotely, it's something you've heard of once. Jean-Jacques, for you, this is kind of an invitation to an inner circle almost, because the latrine is the nickname of a bar, a tavern, that sits close to the halls of Parliament, where really important people are basically the exclusive customers of that place, and where they a lot of policy and business is decided in those in that little tavern over drinks, and goodwill is established there. So that is where she is inviting you. And while she starts walking, she kind of beckons you all to come walk up with her. And she looks over and she says, "So, I assume that you know my name, but who do I have the pleasure of speaking with outside, of course?" And she gestures for you, Jean-Jacques. She says, "Outside, of course, Mr. Shepard. We are."
Okay.
Yeah. We are not acquainted, but I am well aware of who you are.
So as she says that, one quick question: Storm Guide specifically says that I can stop rain within a 20-foot radius, but I feel like snow's close enough to rain where I could stop snow too. Would you agree with that, Dungeon Master? It's only for a cool factor, really, but I'd like to be cool if I may.
I will say, it has some difficulty because the form of what you're manipulating is different. So roll an Arcana check, but with advantage. You are a Windmaker. You are trained in this sort of business. And we'll say, 16 or higher, and you should be good.
26. With an actual
okay.
20.
Already rolled. I was just going to say, as this interaction is happening, you can see that Turnock is checking the schedule because she invited us for something that we haven't prepared for. And at this point, you can already see that Turnock has a little bit of trouble when it comes to his eyesight to reading specifically. So it's basically that old man's drill of, like this, trying to find the correct distance. Then I just turn to Bornek and I say, I don't think it will get in our way if we join her.
I wave my hand slightly, and then there's a cocoon around us where no snow is falling, and I give her a very formal, very proper, and exact, 1,000 times practice bow that is, just the right amount for a person of her station.
And while walking as well,
While walking, yeah. It's that noble, thing, yeah.
Okay.
Enchanté, madame. I was not aware that you would know of my presence, but it is good that we can speak honestly.
I decided to have a look after I heard from your mother a few weeks ago, but we'll get to that at another time. Please introduce your friends, your allies, freelancers, I believe, all of you, correct?
That is correct. And I point to Barnack, and I say, this is the leader of our troop, one Barnack Stoneheart. And I feel like you, the rest of you, can introduce yourselves.
She nods to Barnack, and it's this kind of thing where she walks a little bit sideways and just kind of looks at each person as they speak to introduce themselves. So we'll say Kor introduces himself, and then she looks to Tani and Turnock for names and ideas of who you are.
I just say temporary freelancer as I pump my chest in the way to show the lock part insignia. Temporary freelancer, Turnock, and I don't bow.
She nods, and noting the insignia on your chest, she thinks for a moment. She says, "Welcome to the Republic, then, Turnock."
Thank you so much.
And you are? And she looks to Tani.
I attempt to bow. Just I bend my waist down, look down, and I'm Tani. I trained with Barnack as a freelancer too.
All right. She kind of considers for a moment, and she says also to you, "Well, it's very nice to meet you, Tani. It's nice to meet all of you. I'm happy that you came, and I hope you didn't find Benjamin too difficult to deal with. He can be a bit anxious in difficult situations, but I appreciate your help, and I feel quite confident that I shall need more of it, so I hope that you came prepared for not only the contract that I believe has led you here, but possibly also additional business if everything proves to be as I believe it will be." And she's seemingly being deliberately vague and kind of cryptic, about the whole thing, but you can definitely see that there are wheels turning in her head as well, even as you guys walk and talk. And you exchange maybe some pleasantries, and she asks a little bit about what happened inside while she was not able to see the fight and things like that. Is there anything in particular that you would want to hide from her?
About the fight, or just
Or
in
about
general
what you
about us?
found in general there, or about you specifically, that would otherwise come up easily in conversation?
About there? I don't think so, guys. Like, I don't think we.
Just checking, right?
Yeah.
One thing I would like to do though is when we're leaving, like the part where the asylum is,
Mm-hmm.
those two guards that let us through.
Yeah.
Um, and would Barnack know like what their uh, what their salary kinda is? Like,
I guess make an intelligence check and see if how
Oh,
close
This is
Barnack
gonna
can
go
get.
great.
You know roughly an average monthly wage, which is not that high, but
12.
12. Okay, I would say
Like giving them a platinum, would they think it an honor or something?
it would be. I mean, a platinum piece. I think for most regular workers, not business owners, but just workers, would be a significant boon. It would essentially be half of a monthly salary for them, for an average
It's
worker.
half a month of comfortable living, I think.
Yeah.
If you go by raw.
Yeah, definitely, but prices are also higher in Postizia. So
Yeah, of course,
kind of
but
offsets
Yeah.
each other.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Then while we're passing, like I'll just stop and tell them
okay.
again, thank you for letting us through. As I said, I'll make sure to mention that the all of you guys helped us as well, and for your trouble, here you go. I'll give them a platinum piece each.
Okay. So the human takes it gladly and he just says, "Oh, thank you, sir. Really nice to see that everything seems to have worked out well." The half orc takes the platinum piece, kind of checks it for a moment, checks if it's real by biting on it, and then just looks at you, looks at the other guy, looks back to you. You trying to bribe us?
No, I'm leaving. This is because you helped us get in, and because, well, yeah, not all freelancers are like. Why am I saying freelancers? We are not alike. Bye bye.
He just stares and watches you kind of mumble. As
Just
you
like,
walk
take the
away,
fucking money, I'm leaving.
you just get a really like, not really, but just a slightly confused look from Elena. She just kind of looks at you like, "What was that all about?" But she doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Just
the only thing that I would make an effort to hide is our encounter with the portal underneath Fort Orange. That's
Okay.
the thing that I would definitely skip. And maybe a couple other things that probably wouldn't come up easily in conversation.
Yeah,
like,
if
I don't
it's
know,
not
releasing an
standard, but-
archmage of elves and stuff.
No,
you know.
no. But primarily, things that I know that you guys have in the past chosen to present yourselves differently than you are. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity without going through every part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So, after about, it is a cold 25 minutes or so of walking, and also probably traveling by the river, just to get down to the first district, and close to the Houses of Parliament. When you finally make it to the latrine, this seemingly quite a cozy looking tavern that is set on the riverside. At this point, it is snowing heavily. You are keeping it off of the group, but all around you, you can see that the snow is rising slowly, and you actually see behind you as well, where you guys have walked, the snow is just a little bit less deep, and it's starting to cover your footprints. But there's definitely this kind of, deeper part where Jean-Jacques has prevented the snow from falling as you guys passed. But you make it to the tavern, and before you enter, Elena just kind of stops for a moment and turns to all of you, and she says, Now, I don't know if all of you understand the significance of this place. I am both at liberty and happy to invite you inside, but please behave appropriately. The greatest minds of our republic come together here to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So, I will expect that you behave appropriately, and regardless of politics or orientation, please do not offend anyone. Alright?
I turn to the guys and I say, what that means basically is just remain silent for the most part.
She she seems a bit surprised, but does not disagree. Very
Yeah.
distinctly.
I just look at her, give her a nod, and just say, if you don't mind, madame, for our time in there, if you could go along with the ruse of me being Jean-Jacques Dupois, I would appreciate that.
One of her eyebrows gets raised again, and she nods. But right before she's about to enter, she turns again and she kind of leans in close to you. I will, but I cannot promise that no one else will recognize you. Your mother is a formidable woman. And with that, she lets go of your arm and she enters, and the door opens, and it's a welcome blast of warm air. As you step inside, you can hear the fire crackling in the corner, and inside you see a number of different individuals spread out. I think I also dragged you guys to the map already, where you can kind of see the layout and where some people are sitting. Actually, Remy's with you guys here. You see at a table right as you enter on the left side what seems to be a kind of haughty older human male alongside a halfling who seems to be a bit more studious, maybe someone from a university here, and they're currently just having a conversation while the man is mainly talking, and the halfling's just kind of listening and being a little bored, until she casts a glance at the door and seeing who's there, and you see Elena also immediately react, and the two definitely seem to know each other. Now beyond that, way in the corner sits a strange, you think maybe half elf, but definitely, otherworldly presence, or not presence, but otherworldly feel about this person. Just a little bit mystical, a little bit weird. And you see a woman with short red hair, very thin, in clothes that don't speak to someone of high stature. Everyone else in here is dressed in very fine clothes and formal clothing as well. Not too dissimilar to what you've bought for the Equinical. But this person is as if they just came in from the fields and are now sitting here clean, but definitely much less dressed up than the rest here. But everyone seems to be ignoring or has somehow agreed to, not pay any attention to this person. You also notice that at another table sits Lord Fennec Storm, with his back or mostly turned away from the entrance, so he doesn't notice all of you. But you definitely see him and recognize him, and he seems to be sitting at a table. With her back turned to you is a woman, maybe a half elf, maybe human, who is currently in deep conversation with Lord Fennec about God knows what. Then finally, at the bar, you see a pair of what seems to be a gnome on quite a high chair, and a human who is currently seemingly quite deep into his cups. He's dressed formally, in quite nice clothes, but it's been like he's ripped open his shirt a little bit, and he's got what would have been a nice scarf kind of just wrapped or thrown around his shoulders. He's just not in a good place. And the gnome is just kind of seemingly trying to encourage him or trying to comfort him somehow with whatever situation he's dealing with. And then finally, you will see them in a bit as you enter, but around the corner, on these long benches that are built into the side of the tavern, you see a very formally dressed half-orc female, and she is currently, she has a kind of rigid, almost soldier-like posture to her, and she is at a table with a similarly formally dressed human woman who is, they're just having a quiet conversation over what seems to be a couple of glasses of wine. So, that is the place that you find. And as Elena enters and all of you do after her. You know, you kind of stomp your feet a little bit to get the snow off of them, and of course feel glad that you're in the in a warm place now. She turns to all of you and she says, "If you'll just excuse me for a moment, please find a place to sit, have a drink, and I will be right with you. I just need to catch up with my colleague here. I know that she must have been worried, so I will be right with you." And she goes to sit beside the halfling at the table nearby. So you are essentially left for the moment to your own devices, as you are able to enter the tavern and find a place to sit. A good place looks to be maybe at some of the quite cozy looking sofa benches that are built into the side of the wall, but wherever you want to sit, you're free to do so. And you can also order a drink at a nondescript, not standing out bartender who is currently just kind of running back and forth, getting people some drinks and otherwise remaining unnoticed. So, is there anything special that you guys want to do here, or do you just want to go sit down and have a chat about everything that's happened so far?
I'm not feeling especially comfortable to risk anything, and that
Okay.
risking anything would be engaging with any of these people for the time being. So I think that I will just start directing myself to this, this
Okay.
sort of sofa here, this table right here, and find myself a place near this sort of division here that exists. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll follow, but I'll. The only thing that I would do is just carefully observe, and carefully both in terms of, you know, taking in as much detail, but carefully as not to be particularly obvious about it.
Okay.
Observe the people inside and try to place any of them and figure out do any of their appearances or anything ring any bells as to who these people might be.
Okay. Go ahead and make a intelligence check, let's say. And for anyone else who wants to, feels that they would maybe know some of these folks, you don't have to be politically connected, but you can also just have spent a lot of time in Pastitia and think maybe I've heard or read about some of these people. You can also make a similar check if you wish.
It's a 9 for me. Can I use the sorcery point to reroll?
Yes.
Okay.
As much as Turnock is kind of used to, formal
19
situations and encounters, he's had his fair share already. So it's more like something, he's anxious for when he's leaving. So he's not paying particular attention to what's going on. He just wants to get done with business.
Okay. That's fair. Alright, so you guys...
I don't think Barnack would know anyone, so Barnack was not in Postitia that long.
Okay. So, Arby will just quickly go like, if you want, I'll just get you some drinks and I'll sit down at the bar and just stay out of sight. I don't really want anyone here to pay any attention to me, so...
Sounds good.
I got the impression
Yeah,
you guys
trouble.
have some stuff you need to talk about, without me.
Thank
Carrying
you.
RB down.
Okay. So yeah, essentially throughout this, if you want, let's say, if you do have any drinks, just deduct 5 silver and that will cover primarily what you have, and RB will be the one fetching it for you, as a good manservant would, even though he technically isn't.
Yeah.
And the 5 of you sit down at the table, finding finally some peace, some warmth, and some time to really sit and talk amongst yourselves about all the things that now lie behind you and that may lie still in front of you. So I know that Tani has something to say, but does anyone else want to kick anything off as well?
I rolled a 19 for
the 19,
intelligence.
sorry. Let me see here. I will say with that roll, you recognize, especially because you probably read it recently in the newspaper as well, in the Australia Dispatch, you recognize that the man who was kind of annoying Elena's co-worker must be the famous Sir Rondabius Breckenbridge. He is said to have, accomplished quite a few feats during the war, and generally be, that kind of almost an old-fashioned ideal of a knight, and he has recently been assigned as the head of the peace delegation to the Empire of Truth. So, as you look over there now and you try to place him, you notice that he's a bit peeved that Elena and her colleague are not paying attention to him. But he doesn't necessarily wander over to anyone else. He just waits for them to finish. The other person that you are able to place, let's see, out of these, yeah, I will say is the distraught man at the bar. So the distraught man at the bar, you recognize based on probably some family features that are common in his face, and like their family is quite prominent in the assembly in general, as being one of the Grundigs. And again, that's a name that also came in the paper recently because one of the Grundigs was a murder victim in the killing spree that was happening in the city. Connecting those two things, it's probably easy to say he is unhappy because someone close to him was murdered recently. The others, you are not familiar enough to place.
Cool.
All right. So, sitting together, what do you guys want to do here, or do you want to wait for Elena to rejoin you guys?
I have a question, Jean-Jacques, and I don't know why I didn't ask you this before. Maybe I did, but I did. I'm forgetful. Why do you use that other? Well,
Last name?
yeah, I don't want to say it. You said not to mention that, so yeah, that.
FYI, Bruno asked me about this in our
Yeah,
in
I
Discord just
DM'd
now,
him
so
about this. You gotta explain me that
Perfect.
shit later.
Yeah. So he takes a moment to kind of consider, and well, you weren't there, Turnock, at the time, but if you remember, we had a conversation back. I think it was in not in North Dyke, but in Watchhold.
Watchhold.
Yes, about me and my role. I cannot go into too many details because it's, well, both private and confidential, but my service to my family is one of intelligence gathering. I go out into the world and the Republic and beyond to find useful information, try to move events in a favorable direction for the preservation of the Republic. As such, going everywhere as Jean-Jacques, and I kind of lower my voice slightly, Chopin, the son of the former grand pensioner of Nordic, or just pensionary. Pensionary.
Yeah.
The son of the former pensionary of Northdock can get in the way of that. And former, as of recently, many years, it was the current. And that changes the way that people perceive you, react to you, and what they're willing to say around you. So, I've adopted a number of identities over the past.
So you're more well known for whom you tend to be rather than who you really are.
To an extent, well, you could say so. On a personal level, certainly. But in terms of in certain circles and with certain people, I would be recognized more as my true self than one of my identities.
Your name is more known then.
Correct.
So your name is okay.
As he says that, I just take a long sip of whatever drink I was having, and then, well, I just hope that whatever notes you scribbled about me are just saying nice things.
I kind of chuckle a bit and I say, well, I am a man of complicated morality and allegiance, those that I work with closely, such as yourselves, are exempt from reports that I
We'll see
make.
that. Yeah, we'll see that.
That's good actually. Some of those reports wouldn't be good. No.
I look at Barnick and I say, certainly not.
Yeah.
Certainly not, my friend. A lot of the things that you and I did in the past did not make to anybody's ears because, boy, would that not look good for either of us.
Yeah. And I didn't say anything to anyone ever.
You can see that Turnock is kind of holding the whatever drink uh, with the hand
Mm-hmm.
that his well the that slight breakdown when we were leaving the in order to just not hurt that much, trying to at least ease a little bit the pain of the cut that he inflicted on himself.
Yeah. All right. So yeah.
But yeah, so what we found out at Turnock, this is what you well, you were right. I mean, just drinking, well, tasting blood of anything is not good, but at the same time, that is the only way of seeing what if it's normal.
The only way you know.
Well, yeah, but I was only Tanya and I were there, and
Yeah, we
to
were
tell you the
60.
truth, Tanya also tried it.
Slow, lower down your voice for
Well,
starters.
he seemed fine after, and he stood up even straighter, and he looked well after trying it. Then, yeah, yeah, of course I was gonna try it too.
Well, if that's too much for you to recall, I'll write a personal reminder for you to not drink anyone else's blood
No, no,
ever.
no, no more blood. No,
I will
well,
say Core will interject at this point, kind of concerned, and he'll go, You have to be careful with that. You might become a vampire like my father."
that's also true. Maybe
I
he and
just
I have
stop.
that in common.
Like I literally, I just look at Core and I say, "There's so many things that we still need to talk about." Oh my goodness.
That's why I said.
Yeah,
But
this is a complicated bunch.
and
Turnock and I did find an apparatus that seemed to have been used to take the blood of this person and gather it into potions. So,
no, I I have more information about that person. It's an Asimar, not a human.
that makes a lot of sense.
He was rather dashing to be an unsold, handsome.
Look at
Otherwise,
Tanya. Look.
what? He was.
Do
Yeah,
you
he,
think that affliction affects only ugly people?
No,
Kind of
I
just
thought.
genuine like
I
curiosity.
thought it made them, zombie-ish. At least that's what I
I
thought when
see.
they mentioned unsold. So
Uh,
it surprised me a little bit. Is all.
I see. Yeah, it would be a
Oh,
lot. Yeah, a lot simpler to recognize at a first glance if that were the case. But no, it's unfortunately a lot different than a zombie.
out of all places, the Republic would definitely be the one place that I would that I would hope or at least imagine that an SMR would be after all these years since the last time I saw one. I'm glad. I'm not especially glad that we were not able to take the helping of these people into our own hands. That's definitely something. We are subject to many forces that are way more powerful than us, and that does not please me at all.
and as a good friend said a few days ago, we have to stop saying yes to everything. So, yeah. And
We need to, as I said to Jean Jacques earlier, and I hope that I have this conversation with you all, we need to definitely rethink how we're going to proceed after we're done with the business that we've already said yes to.
yeah, I think a road trip would be nice. We'll see, though. Um, One thing, though, while we were walking, Tani, you said you wanted to share something with all of us. Do you think this is the place and time, or
That's what I was gonna ask. Is the right place? Should I be talking about my past year?
Well, we're in private, so we're just under the risk of being interrupted at any point. So it's just, what do you think? How long do you think that you take to tell us that?
I look at because I've been talking with him. I look at Jean Jacques, like see if he approves.
Before I respond, Kevin, like, would I, just based on my past and stuff, have any idea of like how often, like how much of a practice is it to have people listening in on these kinds of places? Like,
Actually, here it would be the utmost taboo.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Like, this would probably be the safe haven, right?
Yeah, this is where people, are able to have those off the record conversations and
Yeah.
just, whatever they need to say, they can say, and then they go back and they work it out officially in the assembly.
I just give Tanya like a slight nod, like, yeah.
Okay then. Well, where do I even start? And I'll try to keep my face straight because I don't want these people to see that I'm subject to hard emotions. But remember after Appy, well, not Appy, went, after all that happened, remember that Finn waved me over and I went away for a second? Remember? And I wait
yes,
until they somehow say something. Yeah.
yes,
Um. Well, he asked me how I'm doing from everything that's happened, about the aboleth and falling unconscious, and yeah. I tell him. Well, I told him that. Well, I didn't tell him much detail. I just sorry. And I lower my voice down a little bit more. I told him about the mirror room memories. I didn't go into detail about the memories, but I mentioned that, yeah, I saw something that could have conceivably been from my past, and how I wanted to remember what and who I was. It could be a chance to understand, and then I told him about, we went to this place and the statue place, but I didn't tell him details because I remembered that you guys told me that I shouldn't tell everything. And as I mentioned that, he sighed, like sadly, and he said, "Did she speak to you?" And so he knew something. And then he told me that I made him promise never to say a word about my past, apparently. Um, he doesn't know much, but apparently what I remember about living on the street, living on the streets in Postizia for a while and starting to go into his tavern and sleeping on the floor, apparently that's not how it happened. Um, Apparently he met me through Miss Gold. You remember Miss Gold? Okay, yeah, you remember. Um, she was helping me get better, and apparently to do that, I had to forget. So myself from the past decided to forget all this, and I made him promise not to say anything, and I had to forget a lot about it, and apparently I knew a lot of secrets, and Miss Gold helped me, and the only way to bury like my past was to forget, but okay, wait, need to calm down. I told myself I was gonna have a straight face.
It's okay, Tiny. It's okay. It's
No, but
really, it's okay.
he says even I was a bit different back then. I was quite self-assured, intelligent. I had a purpose. And he says only I can get back to them. They're still in here somewhere, stored away. And that much I know because back when we were in that statue place, I don't know, looking at that place, suddenly there was this confusing emotions. I sort of not blacked out, but I was like on automatic mode. Um, there were thoughts and memories that I couldn't place, and I remember I knelt before the statue, and I was about to speak words, and they were familiar at the moment, but I can't recall them now. And then I had this dream. That's why I was so out of sorts that day, and at the brothel. I had a dream, and she did reach out to me.
So,
And I say
or,
she, and I guess
she,
you know.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she.
I felt this. Well, I told Jean-Jacques about it. Sorry I didn't tell you. But he was
okay.
asking about it, so I told him.
Yeah, what's she? Who's she?
But
You know,
I just kind of motion to Tani, like, don't say the name. Like, I just say, let's not say it. And I pull out, like, a piece of parchment if I have it on my body, and I just write it really quickly down, just the word Tiamat, throw it to everybody. And then immediately, if there's like, is there a candle on the table or something?
Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
and
an
then I
oil
just
lamp
immediately
even,
burn
yeah.
it. Yeah, I immediately burn the as soon as everybody kind of notices
Yeah.
what I wrote down.
Yeah. In my dream, I was standing alone in the middle of a big empty space, a big cavern, and I felt this. It was empty and dark, but at the same time, I felt this great presence. And suddenly, the how can I describe it? The ground burst open, and there was what was the word again?
Chasm.
No, I do remember. It's just I don't know. Tany's acting like um. Well, the ground burst open, and there was magma. There was lava. There was uh, and then I don't know, shakings and crackings, and my heart was beating, and um, I was sweating because of course it's hot. There, and then I heard this immense pressure, this strange force. She, this she, and I remember I heard this voice. I'm trying to forget about it, but how can I forget this kind of dream? I remember clearly. She said, "Harold, you have returned to me." And then something about me being incomplete. And like there was this piece of myself that was missing. And then something about I will be whole again. The sign of the red eye will lead me, look for it. And that, okay, that was a dream. But um, I don't know what Finn said. It changes everything, I feel like. Because I decided that I was going to forget it. Suddenly, not sure if what should I do even? Because there must be a good reason why I decided to forget all this. At the same time, me, the tiny I am now, I wanted to understand. But what if discovering it, I don't know, changes me? And so, yeah, I had to tell you. There is this clue that Finn told me. I told him never to near her. And there's a person in the university who apparently used to come with me.
Okay. Okay. Danny, I have I have two questions only for you, and I don't wish an answer to these questions, but I just want you to think about them. First of all, is if you would you like to remember, and if you do, would you be willing to face the consequences of not only remembering but risking becoming the person that at one point in time you were willing to forget you were?
That's the thing. I wanted to understand, but from what Finn says, I'm not sure anymore. Maybe you can help me think.
Tani,
Well,
go
sorry.
ahead, Tarnak. No,
Okay.
go ahead. I am still processing. Takes a bit
Mhm.
more for me to process.
From what you said, of course, this is way beyond my knowledge. What I'm able to deduce, and it's just a deduction. Don't take this for face value at its face value. But you heard a calling, whatever needs, she needs it from you, and she wants you to take part in it. So what worries me the most here is just you not being able, after remembering what your purpose was, what your intents were previously, that you wouldn't be able to actually recognize or differ from who you are now and who you were back then. And that would be extremely problematic. Of course, we would always be here to remember you of the kind, gentle person that you are nowadays, and what are your true intentions. That is, you know, to the most part, do goodery,
Well, I don't have my gloves anymore,
and that's an
so I won't
amazing,
attack
wonderful
you
thing.
because of the gloves, but
That's
yeah.
one step. That's one step further that you're taking, and that's already really, really good. What, but at the same time, it's your calling. You received this calling. This is your mission or purpose, or were your mission and purpose. So, if it is your true intentions to find out what were old Tony, so to say, up to, well, we'll wage you. And I look at them before saying the word we, but we'll wage you. And if it comes to that, we'll help stop the drive, whatever's pushing you doing these things that old Tony, also the old Tony with those old purposes, wanted to forget at some point in time. So I think that the course of action that we should take here would probably, well, not only and not only look for said person in the university, but also pay a visit to Miss Gold herself.
Yeah. Why did it have to be like this? It's all their fault, you know? It's their fault I'm like this. It's their fault I'm this. How can my past self do this to me? But yeah,
We are
I
all
think
embarrassed of
after,
things we've done.
even after knowing, even after maybe I'll have a breakdown like Appy did, I think I do want to know. It is important, right? And
Uh, Appy, the difference between you and Appy, and even if you have a breakdown like Appy, was honestly, even though we were there, he was alone. And even if you have a breakdown, you won't be alone.
oh, so hold on, out of character. Oh, yeah. Okay. Back to character.
And I think that there is one more very, very important difference, Tani, is that Turnock was talking about past Tani and current Tani, but the past Tani wanted to be you. She wanted to forget so that she could be you. Because you're amazing, Tani. And the things that you've done cannot be marred by whatever past or whatever things you were led to believe or do. Because even in that state, being led on by this infernal entity and the cult you were a part of, you still managed to be strong enough to say, no, I do not want this to be a part of my life, and made the ultimate sacrifice by cutting it away. And that is a big difference.
And I strongly believe this is ingrained in you.
I'll
If
look
you-
at Jean-Jacques while he's saying that, and look at him if he's also like just talking about Tani or someone else.
There's a strange look in Jean-Jacques' eyes.
Okay.
And
Then-
Tani, another thing you said you wanted to know. How do I put this? You, or rather, what Tarnak said, your old self, and what Jean-Jacques said, your old self. Those. Remember that old self had memories of whatever, let's say, she was made to do. This Tani, you are a new person. You have memories with us and with all the other things that you did. So even if you remember whatever you do, you have new experiences to guide you. And you will still be able to say no if you need to say no. You did it in a state without, well, I cannot say that you were without friends, but you did it in a state without us. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to say no when we're helping.
So,
You're right.
as you guys
So,
are
yeah.
talking, just quickly because we almost have to finish,
Mhm.
but also as you guys are talking and these wonderful words are being shared and confidences are being reaffirmed, someone at the bar kind of turns around and looks at you guys, and you think for a second they're looking at you, but they're looking at the window that is like above the bench behind you, and you turn and you look the same way, and you hear their voice, and it seems that this is, what's his name? Really quickly, this was Philip, who turned around and he goes like, "Huh? Is that a fire?" And you guys look out the window, and at several other windows, people throughout the bar or throughout the tavern go to look, and you see indeed on the skyline, just above the rooftops in the distance, instead of the pure black of night and the falling snow, you see the orange glow of a fire in the distance. And as you all kind of take in what this might mean, Tani, just to you it seems, this fire takes on the shape of a dragon's head with a single eye facing towards you. And that's where we'll pick it up next time.
Boopy!
Hooray! Right on schedule.
I still wanted to keep you guys talking longer, but I was looking at the time. I was like,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to cut it off in the middle. So, and
Yeah.
this fire was happening anyway. So there you go.
Yeah. May I say something before we notice the fire? I was gonna say, well, if we return to this place and you guys need me to speak words to open this portal, I think I can. Yeah. And I'll be able to. Yes.
That's great.
And I'll keep being myself.
Tarnak,
All right.
remember to write that down. We have a way into the portal.
Buddy, I'm 5 miles ahead of you.
So, with that affirmation and
Nice.
looking together from the warm inn near the Parliament on this fire that undoubtedly must be the Weave Wills Asylum, we fade out, and we'll pick it up next time and see what the Ashen Hearts will be up to next. thank you guys so much for playing. I hope you had fun.
Yeah.
Man.
Awesome session, Kev.
Nice.
Oh God.
Yes.
Great role play. I
Darn
really
it.
enjoyed that. That was like most of the time I was just listening to you guys talk. That's my favorite. My favorite way to DM.
Yeah.
Heavy topics.
Yep.
Yeah, like some serious philosophizing going on as well, about good and evil and who can you trust and
Vampirism.
Vampirism.
yeah, some casual vampirism thrown in on the side. Although
The
imagine.
weird part is
Sorry, go
the
ahead.
weird part is that 3 of us tried it. 3 of us tried the plot.
That is weird. But yeah, I imagine a vampire with an ASMR to feed on. That would be scary.
Scary.
Oh.
Remember what
Yeah,
I said,
imagine
guys,
that, huh?
when Kevin was not here, when Kevin was disconnected? Yeah, just imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. And you wonder forever what was that about, Kevin.
Nah, I already forgot about it. If I didn't hear it,
the
it
Ledge
didn't
King
exist.
coming through with some beautiful words there, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, please take inspiration for that. I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but please take inspiration, Barnack.
That was awesome.
Gladly.
I have it. I
You
still
have
have
it.
it.
Okay, well,
Yeah, so it's fine.
I actually like this idea that I on Friday when I was talking in that podcast to have 3 points of inspiration that you can gather over time. So take a second one essentially. Write down. You have 2 points of
Okay.
inspiration that you can use.
Okay.
Because then also,
That's nice.
I don't want to be limited by you having inspiration already, and then well, I can't reward you anymore, no matter
Yeah.
how well you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for playing. I'm going to cut off the stream here, so anyone who is watching us, thank you so much. No violence, sorry about that. We're just hanging out, but short stream today, and we'll be back next week with the full session and see if these guys can get themselves killed. I mean, have adventure. Alright, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.